We pray for our friends who cannot be here with us. We pray that you continue to bless them wherever they are as you bless us. We pray that our evening's function will all go to your glory. And at the end of the day, it will be another step towards upholding the good name of our great school. Thank you, Father, in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah.
And our topic is preparing for retirement. Can everybody see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, okay. Let me share.
That's it.
Can you see it?
Yes, I can.
All right. Right. The topic is preparing for retirement. Now, apparently, as Black people, there are two very critical stages of our lives that we don't prepare for. We don't prepare for our retirement because we don't prepare for our retirement. We don't prepare for our death. We don't prepare for our retirement because traditionally, we have considered our children as insurance in old age. Look after us. We forget that they may have their own problems, looking after their children and all kinds of things. We don't prepare for our death because we believe that when we are gone, whatever happens is our back case, as we used to say in school, that's my back case. Wrong on both counts. In the modern era, it pays to prepare as retirement looms. Ideally, you should begin planning your retirement 10 years before time. Then 2 years before you actually stop working, you start thinking about the choices you need to make. You may consider getting financial advice if you have not used one in your pension arrangements over the years as you work. Now remember, this will be your income for the rest of your life. Whatever you secure as pension, that is going to be your income for the rest of your life. Now, there is a checklist. It's not exhaustive. There might be others, but there's a checklist. You have to budget for your day-to-day spending after you retire. You need to clear all your debts before you retire. Start some hobbies. Start thinking about a hobby, something that you can do. Then address your retirement housing, wherever you live. If you have more than one house, you need to plan how you're going to maintain those houses. Replace your hardware. Make a retirement budget and live on it. Consider ways to boost your pension budget for changes in your day-to-day spending after you retire. And decide when to start taking your pension. Then finally, plan the end of your life. Now, work out your likely retirement income. Now, in the UK, you ask for copies of your private state pension statements. In Ghana, I know that SNAIT used to provide statements for your SNAIT pension. So wherever you are, and if you are in America, I know they have something special, something similar. So before you start anything, get the statements of your pension, where it is, and how much it is, and what do you think should be in there. Now, this will give you an estimate of how much state private pension you might receive based on in the UK, based on your national insurance and private pension contributions, and in Ghana, based on your SNAIT contributions. To these, add any savings and investments that you may have. You might also have other savings or investments that could increase your income in retirement. You may have a rental property, for instance. Now, you need to work all those ones out. Sometimes sometimes, okay, there are people who work for various companies early in their lives, and they lose track of those pensions. Now, there is a way to trace those pensions. Maybe the company has folded, but still you can chase the pension scheme. So if you work for more than two companies, or several companies, there might be a pension somewhere. Some companies are very good. They will look out for you as you near your pension age. But others, if you don't back up, you might lose it. There is a free government service in the UK that can help you trace all those companies that you must have worked for. Now, don't take risks with the pension savings you have built up. You know, at a certain point, you have to look at the kinds of areas that you invest in, like shares. When you've beyond a certain age, you need to look at where you invest your free money. Now, I have an experience in when the crash came in 2008. Actually, when I started, I paid into the national insurance. When I came back to the UK, the institution that I worked for, they asked me whether I wanted to continue. I said yes, I wanted to continue because I made some very heavy contributions to the national insurance, so I decided to continue. But this institution didn't have a pension, so they gave you the money. They introduced you to a private pension scheme. So you contributed 7% of your salary. If you did the maximum, which was 7%, they would top it up by 9%. So I had that pension. Then when I moved and joined an independent oil company in central London, they had a similar arrangement. They had, I think, if you paid 10% of your salary, they put in 12 or 13.5%. So I did that. I was running those two pensions concurrently. One of them lost 1/3, 30%. The other one lost 25%. But fortunately, after the crash, I decided to increase my pension. Then in 2012, I found a new job, which had a very good pension scheme. So again, I did very aggressive pension because I knew I was going to close. Now, as you approach retirement, it will make sense to gradually move your money to lower risk investments because you can't afford to lose so much. Some pension funds do this automatically. As you get older, they move your part of the pension into less risky investment portfolios. So that was it. But you have to be very, very active in overlooking their shoulders, whatever they are doing with your money. And it might be a good idea to seek financial advice about the best option for you. Remember, your income may be reduced to 1/3 or lower after retirement. For instance, my friends in Ghana, some of them say what you're taking is less than 1/3 what they were paid when they were working. So you have to be careful. There was the Social Security in America as well, SNP in Ghana. Now, you may have to consider ways to boost your pension. If you determine the amount you are likely to retire on, if you determine that it's less than you had hoped for, the scope for making major changes to boost your pension pot is quite limited. But still, there are things that you can do to boost your pension. Two key areas are pay more into it. At a certain point, when you realize that I'm not going to get too much or as much as I had hoped for, add a little more to your monthly pot, what you put monthly into the pot. Okay. Now, the other thing is to put back the date at which you start taking money from it. For instance, in the UK, the state pension, if you postpone it for a year, or for at least a year, you get interest on the money, and it's good when you do that. If you can afford it, you can postpone it for a year and get interest on it, and the interest is quite usually. Now, you may, for those professionals, you may also think about consultancy or joining up with somebody to do something if you feel active enough. Now, then budget for changes in your day-to-day spending after you retire. As I said earlier, you're not going to have that much room to maneuver, so you have to make sure, or sure, your income will be less than what you've been used to. Okay, no, but some areas of your expenditure will increase. For instance, heating, because normally when everybody is working, you set your heating in such a way that it comes on at 6 p.m. or wherever when you arrive at a certain period. Now you're home. So in the winter, you may need to, when it is very cold, you may need to switch on, and that is going to increase your bill. Okay, then there's leisure. There are some people who work for companies that pay for gym for them and other things. Remember, when you retire, you're not going to get that anymore. And for some areas like Ghana and the US, your healthcare might go up because some people have their health insurance taken care of by companies. Again, remember, when you retire, for some companies might continue. I know that Shell, for instance, continues to pay people's medical bills in Ghana. My uncle, one of my uncles, after he retired, he lived for another 25, 30 years, and he was still paying his bills. But where you don't have that system, your health bills might go up. So you need to think about it. Now, to prepare yourself for these changes, first of all, draw a budget. Look at your sources of income and plan how you spend it. Think about what changes you might need to make to live comfortably in the years ahead. You may have to adjust certain things. I mean, like those people who smoke or people who drink a certain number of pints, you may have to make adjustments to those things. And of course, in Ghana, there's the quintessential idea of sending money home if your parents are still alive. So you need to make changes, prepare for all those things. Now look at some personal changes as well. You need to look at your retirement housing. Somebody said a lot of us Ghanaians and Africans will build retirement homes. We'll build homes in Ghana when we are getting to retirement. Sometimes we never live in those houses until the day we die. If we are lucky and they take us to Ghana, they put us in that house for a few minutes before they send us to the graveyard. It's not worth it. If you are in the UK or in the US, settled, occasionally you might go home. Perhaps if there's a family home, you may, and you have a room there, or if you can make an adjustment or some extension, do it, but not a 6-7 bedroom house in Ghana when you are here. And sometimes you go to some people. I know a lady who lived where she lived was really difficult, but she had 2 houses in Ghana, one big house in Accra, one big house in Cape Coast, and she never spent any length of time there. Complete waste of time. But where you live, look at your furniture, your appliances. It's very interesting. For a lot of people, your appliances and other things break down soon after you retire. Your boiler is gone, your cooker is gone, if you don't take care of your freezer is gone, suddenly you have all those ones to take care of. So before you retire, look at those things: appliances, carpets, furniture, kitchen, bathroom. And if there are any major changes to make in your building, in the house, do it. Because when you retire, when you have less money, that is when all those things can become like rainfall. So you need to take care of them. Now you have to replace your hardware. If you have work-related systems like telephones, laptops, and things like that, make sure that you have your own, because once you get out of the office, you're not going to be able to use those ones anymore. Now, start some hobby. Don't wait to become a couch potato. Make sure that you have something that you can do daily, weekly, or whatever to stay active. Remember, use it or lose it. Apparently, our minds, when we retire and we don't have much to do, they go very, very quickly. So make sure that they have something to do. If by that time there are grandchildren to teach, that's what I do. Teach maths, teach English, teach science, anything. But do something, and even if nothing at all, volunteer for something. Okay, volunteer to do something. Like some people go to school to help children with their reading and things like that. But get something, a hobby. If you cannot afford the gym, get a hobby. Something that will take you out of the house 2-3 times a day, a week. Otherwise, you become a couch potato. You watch all the afternoon television and evening television, and before you realize, getting out of your couch has become a problem. Don't let it happen to you. Get something. You are never too old to set another goal or dream. Dream another dream, according to C.S. Lewis. You can always do something. This is very important. Clear your debts before you retire. Add up how much you owe on your credit cards, any personal loans. And if you have a mortgage, make sure that you clear those things before you retire. Because as I said, you're not going to have enough money to be messing around. So make sure that you put all your card debts and everything together, clear them. And that is why you need to start early, 2 years behind, so that you have plans to clear your debts. Many people use their pension, they use the tax-free lump sum to clear mortgages. But there are two things. I did that, actually. We did that and cleared our mortgage. Unfortunately, the fortunate thing was that we have a house in Ghana that we rent for dollars. So we bring money out of that and every year. And that's what we did to clear our mortgage. But the other side of it is that you have to pay tax on it to HMRC. Fortunately, there is a tax arrangement between Ghana and Britain. So the Ghana government, in Ghana, you pay 15% on rental if you have a rental property. And so instead of 22% here, I pay 15% in Ghana and 7% here, which is a relief, because if I were to pay the whole 22% here, it would be disastrous. So again, that is something that if you have rental property in Ghana, that's something to look at. But if you have a defined benefit salary-related pension scheme, sometimes taking a big lump sum may be too expensive. So what you do is you take a smaller lump sum so that you get a bigger monthly payment. That could help you to pay your mortgage and other debts. Okay, that way that money is there. It's coming in every month. Instead of taking the big sum for a lot of people, when people take it and they do all kinds of things with it, and before they realize they haven't paid their debts, but the big sum is gone, and what is coming in monthly is not big enough. So you need to think very seriously about it. In some cases, it works out to take a smaller lump sum and get a bigger pension. But if you are not sure about what option to go for, you can get professional advice and find out how to reduce and manage your debts. Now, decide when you want to start taking your pension. You need to set a target date when you want to start drawing on your pension. Now, you don't have to stop working to take your pension. In the UK, you can take it from age 55 and even earlier if you are in bad health, poor health. We had one of our friends. She unfortunately she got ill, very ill, just after she retired, or just before she retired. But very quickly, very smartly, she took her money, everything, and distributed it to her children, her two children, and just 2-3 weeks ago she. So you need to work that out. Check with your pension scheme provider as to the time you put down as when you wanted to start drawing your pension. You see, when you fill that form, usually you state a date on which you want to take your pension. Check with your pension provider. In the UK now, you can't force anybody to retire. They have to want to retire. You can't tell them, otherwise they will take you to court. Now, think about how you want to take money from your pension pot. How do you want to do it? And the new UK pension rules, you can take money out of your pension pot however you like. And you can check there is a UK website where you can check. And apparently, even in Ghana, there's a new law. One of my friends took his money from his pot and invested in real estate, and he's made a lot of money out of it. So again, you can look at that. Now, get advice and finalize your choice. If you can't afford to delay taking your pension, talk through the options with a financial advisor. There are people that will charge you some money to do it, but there is also a government in the UK. There's a government website, a government-supported website that will give you some advice. It's called the pensionwise.gov.uk. You can go to that website. It will give you all the options. But if you want to know exactly what to do, you have to talk to a financial advisor. Now, plan your last days. Please, if you have not written a will, write a will now. Go and do it now. I know that I tried Ghana. It was very, very expensive. But in the UK, well, it could be a bit expensive, but it saves a lot of trouble. The people we are leaving behind and everybody else, it saves a lot of trouble. I've just had a situation where a gentleman we know didn't make a will, and he passed away. The wife has inherited the house, but it means that she has to pay inheritance tax. Now, the way around it is to write a will, and for the two of you to do a power of attorney for each other, and also include your children. Okay, the power of attorney. And that's critical because again, we know a few people who, one gentleman who has lost everything because somewhere along the line, unfortunately, had dementia. He doesn't remember his bank accounts. He doesn't remember his bank books. He doesn't remember anything. He doesn't even remember where his savings are. And you see, as Ghanaians, this is a white man actually. as Ghanaians, we try to hide everything from everybody. And if you don't take care and you get into that situation where you don't remember anything, it means everything is gone. Now, I do internet banking, and I have everything online, including house insurance and every kind of insurance. It's all online, and it's all protected by password and various things. And I've got a complete file with those passwords. Each time I have to go to hospital, I update that file and send a copy to my son. Anytime I travel to Ghana or anywhere, I update my passwords and with instructions of everything. I give a copy to my son, send a copy to my son. So he knows everything. And he even knows the safe, the combination to the safe. Okay, you need to do that. You need to do that because we never know what will happen tomorrow. You might wake up tomorrow. There are people who, I attended a lecture. There are 45-year-olds, 52-year-olds that have had dementia. They don't remember anything. They don't know where they are. Touch wood. You don't want to get into that situation where nobody can find anything of yours. So you need to take at least as you grow older, you need to take your children in confidence. But by all means, write a will, because if you don't write a will, not only are you creating problems for people in Ghana, but here in the UK as well, because the what they call inheritance tax, it's obnoxious, and unfortunately it affects the middle classes more than any group of people, because the upper class people, they can afford lawyers and accountants to look at everything and help them to maneuver and use the system to their benefit. Those are the the bottom ranks don't have that kind of system, but it's the middle classes who mostly, you have a good job, well trained, you have a salary, you've accumulated some properties, some savings and things like that. If you don't protect it with the will, the state will grab much of it, and that's not worth it. It's not theirs. It doesn't belong to them. It's your money. You make sure. And so if you're into internet banking, compile your passwords into a file and give it to a trusted child. Okay, like the power of attorney, nobody can touch it while you are still alive. It is filed at a government site. Okay, as long as you are living, nobody can touch it. They can only touch it after you are gone. Or if suddenly you lose your marbles and you can't remember anything, then they can go into your bank account and do things for you, clear things for you. Otherwise, you might lose everything. Now, you see this clock? See how it's looking? It says, who cares? I am retired. In conclusion, the transition into retirement is a major life change. Having a detailed plan to manage that transition was helpful to me and to us and to a lot of people. For Europeans generally, they plan for their retirement. A lot of us don't. There are steps that I recommend. The checklist that I provided at the beginning, there are other things that you can do, but by all means, plan it. Good planning will mean less stress through the journey and will help you enjoy your final days of work and ultimately retirement. Because if you don't have those, if you know how to manage what you have, if you don't have those stresses, it's not going to worry you. And if you have something to do, I mean, like the church, you volunteer in the church, you do various volunteer things. You're always active. And by all means, try some exercise. Walking is great. I mean, I walk 1 hour, 4 days a week. I do Zumba 1 day a week. And Saturdays, I do exercise bike. This morning, I did 30 kilometers on the exercise bike. It's good. It's good to keep you going. Yes, you studied hard. You have worked really hard to get to this point. It's time to reap the rewards. Don't mess with it. Plan for it, and you can enjoy your retirement. Thank you very much for your attention. If there are questions. Yes.
Yeah.
Again, you see, all the numbers are falling down there. And he says, who cares? I am retired. There's no alarm clock to wake you up or anything. And that has its own dangers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just hold your breath for maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Let me just give this short announcement before we continue. So I'll share the screen now, and then you come back on later. Just hold on a second. Yeah. So just a short announcement. The up and coming events we've got next month. We have a mental health by Samuel Hansen. A talk on mental health, which is very, very important, especially to men. So try and make the date. And then in July, we also have our giant Olenu, who is so this is going to be out of this world. He's going to talk about the work he's doing with space exploration and his perseverance mission. So yeah, book these 2 dates in your diary.
Right.
Then whoever, we're also inviting speakers from various, various topics, various subjects to come and share what they have. Anything interesting, please let me know, and I'll put you on the podium, and you can share what you have. Now for the UK group, we're finally today the the clocks, the wall clock, the tower clock is it's being shipped today. It should be on the sea today. So hopefully in 4 or 5, maybe 5 to 6 weeks, it should be in Ghana, and then we are going to start kind of installing it. So at least by the next, I'll say way before the next speech day, if there is a speech day in November, then this kind of clock should be up there. And don't forget to put in your tokens in the box when you know the account number. So just give us your money, please, UK guys. Okay. Stop sharing. Yeah. So questions for Doc now, please.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can I please ask my question?
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
Go ahead.
So I have 2 questions now.
Okay.
The first question is that, Doc, you see, in Ghana, with this financial sector cleanup, seriously, it scared some of us. I mean, for some time now, I have been saying that it might not be too worth to have a lot of liquid cash, I mean, in your investments, looking at how the financial sector went, the cleanup. I mean, example, the bank, is it Unibank, by the former financial minister? I mean, just a year before the cleanup, it was adjudged the best performing bank, and then the following year it was collapsed. And so, I mean, you couldn't trust anything. And so I personally was looking at real estate. I just want to find out, is it a good decision? I mean, you definitely need some money, I mean, to depend on when you retire. But looking at the way the system is in Ghana specifically, and the way vis-a-vis the way the financial sector went, you see, the politician can do anything. You, this is just one of. You don't know what happens tomorrow when another government will come. Example, people talk about this. The current financial minister's financial system. What's the name? Data bank. I am very, very skeptical about it because with a change of government, anything can happen, you know. So what will you advise with that? I mean, to clear some of our confusion and our fears. And then the second question that I want to ask is that in your presentation, you made mention that 10 years to your retirement, you need to plan very seriously towards it. And then 2 years, you need to look at the choices that you want to invest in. What I want to ask is, what about 30 years to your retirement? What about 40 years to your retirement? Let's say you are 30 years, you start work, you have 30 years to retire. Are you saying within that time frame, you really don't have to consider retirement, but wait till you are like 50 years before you consider retirement?
No,
thank you very much.
That's not what I was saying. You know that when you start, first of all, let's deal with the first one. The problem is that if you put your money in, technically, I think we have that law in Ghana. The banks are supposed to have insurance, okay, and the state is supposed to cover your deposits in the bank up to a certain level. I think in the UK it's about, in America, I know that in America it's about $200,000. In the UK, I think it's also about £100,000 or £150,000. In other words, if you save in a bank and the bank collapses, the state has a responsibility to pay you back up to £150,000. Okay. Now, one of our mates, SP Ofori Quaah, I spoke to him about. He used to be chief auditor at Bank of Ghana. I spoke to him about this financial cleanup thing, and he said the problem was that the Minister of Finance and Bank of Ghana especially reneged on their responsibility to customers. They were supposed to make sure that the banks had a certain amount of money set aside, okay, at all times. And the new banks were supposed to start with a certain minimum amount of money. But for political reasons, some of them started with as low as 50,000 cedis. Can you believe that? They started the banks with 50,000 cedis and extended the loans in billions, which means they had overextended themselves. Bank of Ghana knew about this thing. They didn't bother. And so that is what happened when the government came, and they realized that if they didn't do something about it, the whole financial system was going to collapse. That is why they did that. So yes, there are things that you can do. If you don't trust the system, first of all, you have to do your SNIT. Okay, you have to make sure, as for the SNIT, it's compulsory. So it's taking off the top. Now, at GMPC, what we found when we started GMPC, what we found was that the people that had worked for petroleum department, when they retired, some of them had to wait for 18 months before they could get their SNIT pension payment. So we fought and set up an end of service benefit scheme where you put, the corporation took 7% of your salary and added 12%. And it was invested in the bonds, on the shares. Okay, so that when people retired, that money was readily available because it was local. You could pick that money and go and do something with it. And a lot of people started businesses. They built stores and stuff like that. They started trading so that they made money on it. So by the time they finally got the SNIT thing kicking, they had money to live on. So you may want to think about something like that. No, as soon as you start work, yes, you have to start thinking about the future. One, your marriage, One, children, how are you going to care for your children and all that. You see, the reason why I said 10 years is because by the time you've worked for 25, 30 years, your children, if you got married early, your children will be getting towards university. So you don't have too many bills. So you can afford to put aside some money. Unfortunately, in the UK, we have very good private pension schemes. But in Ghana, because of this because of our corruption, some of the banks most of those banks that were disbanded were not supposed to set up in the first place. Ofori told me that it was political. For those of them who had worked for Bank of Ghana and they knew the system, they were overruled because it was politics. You go to the president's office, he gave you a note to Bank of Ghana to allow you to set up a bank. And some with as little as 50,000 cedis, they set up banks. That is what happened. And the other thing is that, yes, the last 10 years of your life, that is when by that time you would have settled in a certain place, a certain job. You know your way around. You know how much, what you would have done, how much mortgage you have if you've taken a mortgage, or if you are building a house, you know how much further you have to go. Unfortunately, for us Ghanaians, for the average European Englishman, when he starts working, he buys a 1-bedroom flat. When he marries, they go and buy a 2-bedroom flat. When they have children, they buy a 3-bedroom house. When they retire, they come down to maybe a 2-bedroom house. As for us, it's when we are 50, 55 that we start putting up mansions. And some of us never finish. So yes, as much as possible, yes, think about it. But in the last 10 years, make very, very serious plans. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Okay. Jan Takoto, I think you are next.
Flo. Yeah, you can mute yourself and ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Faintly.
Come a little closer to your mic.
Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yes, it's better.
Something just came to mind. You touched on the fact that we build houses in Ghana and never live in them, and somehow we die without actually getting proper use of the houses. Well, some of us also have an idea to relocate to Ghana when we retire. Now, I realized some time ago that if you keep your money in the bank, because of the inflation rate in Ghana, what 1 million cedis we have bought last year, you can't buy the same thing this year. So, what a few of my friends and I did was to usually take loans from
UK banks, because the inflation rates were less in the UK, and we sent them to Ghana to invest in various properties, because we realized that if you took a loan in Ghana, I mean, because of the prohibitive interest rates, we would never be able to comfortably pay them back. So that was a way. So I think a good way is to invest in maybe bonds or real estate, so that as time goes on, these will really appreciate faster than keeping your money in the bank. And you won't risk the situation where a government will come and say, okay, this bank, we are closing it down, you lose your money. So that is what my thoughts were headed for when I heard you say that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a very good thing. I remember I mentioned that one of my friends actually took money from his net pot and invested it in real estate, and he's made a lot of money. Real estate, a house in a good area for rental will always give you money. And especially if you eventually wish to relocate permanently in Ghana, yes, it's a good idea. But for those who do not intend to go and live in Ghana, it's sometimes to go and put a mansion in Ghana while you live in the UK is not a very smart idea. But one of my financial friends said, you put your money where the interest rate is high, wherever it is. He said, at the moment, interest rate in Ghana is better than the UK, where it's almost zero. So if you put your money in Ghana, somewhere along the line, the exchange rate might change, but you still because the interest rate is high, you'll still make money. Because I put some money in treasury bills. When I look at it, at the time I did, it's appreciated close to 90. In fact, it's about 99% now. So yes, it's good to do that, especially if you intend to go and live in Ghana. But then think about the health system as well. Make sure that you have enough for health situations, because our health system, there are too many challenges there. A few of my friends in America, they went and they had problems and swore never to go back to Ghana because, well, at least not to go permanently because of the health system. But yes, it's good to invest if you eventually intend to relocate permanently.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Any other? Oh, the president is here. President Titi, how are you?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
Good. I'm listening. Very good talk.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So there's one question I wanted to ask. You know, when you are so if you are working with a company, you have a company, you join a company pension scheme.
Yes.
Now, what about the state pension? Is it like a top up or what's?
No, the state pension is the what do they call it?
Or is it a safety net? If you don't have, then you.
No, it's compulsory for everybody. It's taking off your salary. They call it
National insurance?
National insurance scheme, yes, the national insurance.
Okay.
It is taken from your salary automatically. Okay, so when you continue, and you can actually take, that one comes earlier. I think it's about 60. Well, now it's been going up. It used to be 60. Now it's got to about 67. Yeah, you have to be 67 before you can draw from it. But you see, if you have your private pension, the state pension comes in for a lot of people. A lot of people get more from the state pension than the private pension, because if it is not work related, you have to buy annuity, and that is not fantastic. But if you have a good job and you pay at a reasonably high level on the national insurance, then you get a full pension. It used to be that many years ago, it used to be that if you work in this country for 6 months, you could still get the full state pension. But now you have to contribute for at least 11 years before you can earn, you can get the state pension. If you do 11 or more years, so you have to contribute for 11 years or more to be able to enjoy the. If you do 20, I think it's about 20, then you get a full state pension. If you do from 11, you get close to 90, because I did altogether, I did about 12 years. And my level is about 90% now. It includes, it increases every year. Every year when they adjust workers' salary, yours is adjusted too. So mine was adjusted in April.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's in addition to the private pension.
Okay. So if say your mother comes from Ghana here and she's say 66 or maybe 64 and she works for say 2-3 years, she cannot get the state pension.
She will have to. If she works for about 5 years, she will get something. Not very much, but she will get something. You need to work for at least contribute for at least 11 years.
Okay.
You need to, if you do 11 or more years, it's quite good.
Yeah.
And that's apart from your private industry or public service pension. And one good thing worth mentioning that in the UK, the public services, their salaries are not very great, but their pension is fantastic.
Yeah.
So a lot of people who work in the private sector, the banks, the law firms, and those guys, when I did some work with Ealing and Brent councils when I first came, because I worked for an environmental charity. I met quite a lot of people because in finance, the work is so hectic that by 45, a lot of people are burning out. So what they do is when they're 45, 48, they quit. They leave the private sector and join the public service because the public service pension is very, very good. So when they bring their pension from the private sector, it's great. They after retirement, they live like kings because they are poured from the private sector into the public sector. It's great. So if you like, I met planners, accountants, and quite a few professionals that worked for the private sector, and then after 45, 48, they went into the public sector, working for the councils and National Health Service and places like that. And the pension is really good.
Yeah.
So if you're a professional, you may want to think about that.
Yeah. Good.
Hey, Peter Chrissy, dear.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, please.
Yes. One of the things is when people invest, whether it's real estate or anything else, the tendency is always to think of the upside. They don't tend to think about the downside.
Yes.
So my suggestion is, in terms of planning for retirement, you start from day one. You don't wait. If you are going to get into real estate, I mean, gradually get into it whilst you are young and you can do it. Because if you are going to do it when you retire, you have to also understand that there are costs involved in maintaining it and things like that.
Yeah.
So if you are only thinking of the income, it's not always going to be income. You are going to have to cough out money. So like Dr. Quaah said, he has a house that he gets, he rents for dollars. That he did it while he was young, not when he retired.
Yes.
So maybe over time he has accumulated enough money that now if somebody moves out and he has to go and fix things and spend a whole lot of money, he can afford to do that. Yeah. You in your retirement cannot afford to do that. Yeah. So you really have to make sure that you plan early. You start planning your retirement early. Please don't wait till you retire, because if you wait till you are about to retire, or even 10 years before you retire, I think it's kind of a little late. That is when you need to. I agree with Dr. Quaah that that's when you need to actually focus on your retirement. Yes. Because before that, you are saving, investing, you are just putting the money in. But 10 years out, then you start worrying and say, okay, now, just like he said, you have to minimize your risk. You have to do this, you have to do it. You have to get more involved in that. And I think that's the only point I want to add to the excellent presentation that Dr. Quaah said. Please start early.
Yeah.
You're very right. When we the first time we rented a house, it was rented to a German. He really trashed the house. But when he left, unfortunately, because we were here, we had to literally rebuild the whole house. Fortunately, we had some money put away, so we had to literally rebuild the house. And since then, we've been lucky that the people that have rented it have used it for office. And when you're selling to people or advising people, they want to see they come to a decent environment. So those guys they've taken very good care of it since then. But yes, we are right. You really need to prepare early. Ray, there are some
Could you Ayensu, and then the last one is Mr. Siedu, and then that's it. So two.
Okay, thank you very much. So you talked about writing a will, which you said is very important. Now, vis-a-vis retirement, at what age will you really recommend a person to put a will together? I'm asking that because of, the age around which some of us find ourselves in. I'm 39 anyway, but I'm 39 years old. So some of us see will writing as something that you do when you have acquired substantial amount of properties or money or assets that you think you can really hand over to, people that you would want to give. But then, as you started working, putting some assets together in the process, as early as my age, is it really advisable to write a will? Yes or no? At what age will you recommend? And most importantly, those who have experience in writing a will or having a will in Ghana, around how much are you expected to spend in writing and updating your will? Thank you very much.
Okay. Technically, ideally, when you start working, when you go on a SNIT pension scheme, you put somebody's name as beneficiary. Usually, if you're not married, people use their mother or their parents. When you marry, you put your wife, you change to your wife. When you have a child, the moment you have a child, you have to write a will. Whether you are 25 or 35 or whatever, the moment you have a child, you're married. Actually, the moment you marry, you have to write a will. You have to write your will because, until Jerry Rawlings brought the intestate succession law, succession in Ghana was terrible, especially in Akan areas. And later on, I learned that even in Ghana areas where it's supposed to be automatically patrilineal, there are terrible things that happen to widows and orphans. In fact, in our church in Calvary, there was a case where the man died. The funeral was going on in Calvary. By the time they went home, the family had cleared everything and burnt the things that they thought they didn't need, including the children's birth certificates. When after the intestate succession law came in, and a lot of people don't pay attention to it, but technically with the intestate succession law, if you die with intestate without writing a loan, and your properties are divided into 3. 2 go to your children and your wife, and if your father or mother is alive, they get the other 1/3. If not, everything goes to the children. A lot of people don't know, they haven't bothered to read that, to apply that thing, and people are still being cheated. So technically, my brother, as soon as you marry, make a will, and you keep updating it as you acquire more property and assets. Okay, maybe in fact, if you find a good lawyer, they will prompt you. They will prompt you. They will prompt you to do it, and then you also, in addition, you do the power of attorney. Apparently, in Ghana, it's quite expensive. It depends on the lawyer. It could be anywhere between 25,000 cedis to 30,000 cedis in Ghana. It's quite expensive in the UK as well, but it's your last testament for the peace of mind of the people that you leave behind, in order that they don't get into too many troubles. You need to do that, and also the power of attorney, and willing to each other. And as long as you do that, the taxman cannot touch any of you until all of you die. And a lot of people, what they do is, when they make money in the UK, those of you who live in the UK, when you make money, if you have children and grandchildren that you want to leave money for, or you want to sell certain things, if you have artwork or something that valuable, that will fetch money. Every year you can give up to 2,500 to every child without the taxman worrying you. So you can do that. If you don't do that, the inheritance tax is outrageous, really, really outrageous. And it's a squeeze on the middle classes because they are the ones who cannot afford top lawyers and accountants to help them out. So it is important, as soon as you marry, do write a will and keep updating it. When you have got your house, update it. When you've got some amount of savings, you update it. When you've got some amount of investment, you update it. But don't wait, because you see, in our society, when people talk about will, they think the person wants you to die. No, it's not like that. You have to prepare, and also prepare to help the people you are leaving behind. And if possible, when you have retired, get a funeral insurance. Okay. In fact, we have a funeral insurance, and the guy who did it for us was very, very smart. When I turned 70, he said, when you get to, we had the insurance up to 80, but he said, if you get to 75, nobody is going to insure you. So when you are 70, let's push it to 90. So now I have an insurance, basically funeral insurance up to age 90. So if when I quench, that will pay for my funeral, instead of letting your children suffer when you are gone. At least make sure that your funeral is paid for, and you do that by doing a funeral insurance or a life insurance. Yeah. And you do it, you must stretch it as far as possible, up to 90. Yeah. I have a 97-year-old uncle still. Yeah. So he's still drawing his pension. You know what? 2 years ago, state insurance said no. They stopped his pension. So his son called them and said they thought he was dead because all the people he started with have died. He said, my father is alive. He said, okay, go and bring him. So it took my uncle from to state insurance SNIT office. Unfortunately, the photograph they had of him there is quite. He took that photograph about 20 years ago, but he still looks very much like him. So they went back to pay him the backlog, and he's still drawing the pension. So yes, if you're doing funeral insurance, stretches as far as possible, at least 90. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Sid.
Yeah, but before, so you are talking on pension. I think wills, the question of wills is a whole topic on its own.
Yes.
And yeah, we'll find someone to
Yes.
come and
Yes.
talk to us on that one. It's because it's quite important. So yeah, it's just difficult. GSTS, we don't really have those expertise amongst us, but yeah, we'll look for one. Yeah. The last question, Mr. Siedu.
Okay, thank you very much. One of my submissions is a suggestion, or maybe let's say an advice of some sort, because I'm very passionate about real estate management. And when we talk about the real estate investment, most of the time, most people do not plan for the management aspect of the real estate. All they think about is what they get out of it. And that can also be planned for, so that you can also set aside a certain amount of money that will accumulate to take care of the management of your properties, so that when in food facility, you can use some of this that you have set aside to manage it. The second thing I would add, that one is actually a question. And it's about proper health management, even on retirement or before retirement, so that your retirement does not become overburdened by a lot of illness and those things. When you are old, that's when a lot of these things begin to show up. Can you plan to manage that apart, beside walking and those things that he mentioned? How can you plan for that? The last one is about the SNIT pensions. I don't know if it still happens, but I know I have heard that people get peanuts when they go on retirement. How do you, is there a way, beside the private contributions, to get to a certain premium of your SNIT contributions to warrant you getting higher payment of benefits?
Okay, let's look at the health.
I don't know if there's a way to do that.
Okay, the health thing first. When you turn 40, as much as possible, do let you, if you're in the UK, it's quite easy. Do health checks every year, annual health check, comprehensive. They check everything. In fact, in some private companies in this country, it is compulsory that you do health check. I started because when we have a doctor friend who came to our house one day, we're talking about something, and I said I hadn't been to hospital for about 5 years. He said that's nonsense. When you turn 40, you have to do medical tests. At that time, he was doing looking at SNIT Hospital, and GMPC had avenue to that place. So he gave me a list of things to go and check. So I went to do the blood test, and they had everything. They checked everything. We realized that my cholesterol was high, and that was because I was like Amoku. I used to eat a lot of groundnuts. I would buy, around Osu, there was a lady that used to sell groundnuts in bottles. I wasn't eating lunch. My lunch was bananas and groundnuts. I'll buy one bottle, and within 3 days, it will be finished. Within the week, it will be finished. So I sent the report to him, and he said, yes, stop that. And I used to like cheese as well. I said, stop the cheese, stop the groundnuts. Now, what you do is, and I said, and so I told him, I said, but people go and sit in the hospital for a whole day without being seen. But if I'm not ill, why should I go to hospital? He said, well, when you go to Makola, the lady selling there, if her friend comes, she will serve her and leave you before. So if you have doctor friends, you go to them because that's why they are your friends. If you every year come to me. So every year, before I left Ghana, every year I was going to him. He will do he will write the thing for me. I'll do all these things. So it's important to take care of your health. Do annual checkup, comprehensive checkup. That will if your company doesn't have it, that will do for you. Okay. So that at all times, if there's something happening, and particularly for a lot of us West Africans, men, apparently one of our biggest problem is prostate problem. If it is captured early, they can fix it. So I had that problem. So I've told my children and their friends that watch your stream. When you pee, watch your stream. If at a certain point you find that your stream is getting weaker, you need to go and see the doctor. Or if you hurry and then you find that you hurry to the bathroom and find that you have to stay a little longer before it starts coming out, you need to check. But if you do annual medical checkups, they'll find it early, and if there's a problem, you can solve it. So don't wait till you are ill before you go to hospital. Plan that by March. Okay, by March you would have gone through your annual test. When you are 40, do it every year to make sure. In terms of the SNP thing, you notice if you've been getting your statement, you notice that when you start work, because your salary at a certain level, your salary is low, the deductions are low. But as you progress through work, your contributions get higher and higher. But unfortunately, that is one thing that we have to fight. One of my friends, one of my giant friends on another platform, he says, we need to start paying living wages in Ghana, because it's so unfair. When you compare the chief executive's salary to the guy at the bottom, it is about 5,000 times. It's iniquitous. It's not right, because at the end of the day, everybody contributes to the success, including the cleaner. Everyone contributes to the success of the organization. In every American oil company, when oil is discovered, they buy bottles of champagne. Everybody, it's compulsory. Everybody takes part in sharing that. And the idea is everyone, including those days when we had the ladies who did the punch cards, everyone contributed to the success of the discovery. And everybody is supposed to share in it. The salary levels in Ghana are horrible, because I know a former chief executive of a state corporation, who told me that his pension only buys petrol. The pension that he takes only buys petrol. Fortunately, he has one son in America, one in Canada, and one in Ghana. Those are the people who contribute to keep him up. The pension, the SNP pension itself is horrible. That is why, I believe that is why the state introduced the private pension. But unfortunately, the private pension, somebody has to guarantee it. There has to be some kind of insurance to guarantee it, so that people who are investing in those companies will eventually benefit. But the SNP thing, unless you rise very high by the time you retire, unfortunately, it's not very good, because they're supposed to, I think they're supposed to pay your, on average of your last 3 years salary. That's how it's calculated. Now, I'll tell you my story. I worked in Ghana for 17 years. And then I found out that for SNP, the statutory contribution is 21 years. You have to work for you have to contribute to it for at least 21 years before you earn pension. So when I came back to the UK, one of my friends told me that he was doing a private, they have a situation where you can do a private contribution. So I wrote to the SNP manager at Tema, and he said, yes, I could do it. But apparently, you can't do it from outside Ghana. But he had given me the assurance. So I wrote to the head office. I said, I've got the assurance. And they said, yeah. So eventually they said I could pay. So I was contributing. I sent money to my niece and she was contributing, paying quarterly. Then one quarter, when she took the money there, she said, oh, I had got to 21 years, so she should take the money back. So, well, are you sure? I said, yes. Okay, so when I turned 60, I wrote to SNAIT. They brought me the forms. I completed everything. And then one day, my niece told me that SNAIT had paid a certain amount of money into my bank account. When she called it, I said, no, that's too much. Because I was going to take 25% and the rest would be monthly. Now, apparently, what they did was when they went to the head office to do the calculation, they found that it was 3 months short. Can you believe that? 3 months short of 21 years. So what they had done was my contributions over 17 years, they added the interest. They calculated the interest over 17 years, and that was what they paid to me. So I don't have monthly pension in Ghana. And so I was lucky that I came back to the UK and did a very serious pension. But looking at it, what I was going to get for 17 years was really not much. So as much as possible, like Giant Yebo was saying, if you can plan into real estate, something else that will fetch you money, it's good, because the SNAIT pension at the end of the day is not very, very good. It won't sustain you, unfortunately. And somehow people are not complaining about it. So it's someone has to take it up. Someone has to complain about it, because it's terrible. When you've worked for 32, 37 years, and then at the end of your retirement, what you take as pension can't take you home. My mate Akoto used to say that my take-home pay cannot take me home. So it's not good. Anyway. Yes. Ray, you are muted.
Yeah, I said thank you so much, Jan Ofori Quaah. You've done a wonderful job for us. I mean, yeah, this is not your field, but you've done the research and you've given us a very, very, very good lecture today. So we just want to thank you for doing that. We also want to thank our friends from Ghana,
America,
and I think America as well, and yeah, the UK, the FUNIPA. So yeah, thank you for this is your meeting. So I don't know whether to thank, but yeah, thank you for joining today's meeting. I've enjoyed it. So and the next one is going to be June, I think 29th, mental health. That's also a very, very important topic. So please join us then. Thank you. I think I would leave the meeting open. So if anybody wants to say anything, you can do. I'll just stop the recording now.
Peter Cressidia.